Yo guys, what's going on? Welcome back to the channel. Austin FC struggling is something that we've heard for a while now. So I thought it's pretty much time. I was going to record this earlier this season, but then Austin kind of changed their tone a bit and went on a very good streak, beating Dallas and San Jose in what I thought was a kind of maybe a turning point in the season. And then against St. Louis, it all came crashing down. That brings us to the question. Is Austin FC in the mud? Short answer, yes. Long answer, kind of, but not as deep as you'd think and easy to get out. So I thought we'd deep dive a little bit into that question of, is Austin FC in the mud? Starting out with a baseline of what a lot of people think is the main and biggest issue with Austin FC, and that is Josh Wolff. I don't disagree. I think that Josh Wolff, as a first-time coach, is struggling and has struggled with his time in Austin. His overall record with the club, and therefore Austin FC's overall record as a club in general, 37 wins, 24 draws, and 49 losses. A lot of those losses are coming from games that should have been draws if Austin FC could finish games and could play full 90 instead of about 75 to 80 minutes every single time. And the same goes for the draws. That's, I think, probably the biggest problem, is the finishing in games is not there. One of the other issues specifically with Josh Wolff is that he doesn't adapt his play style at all, and it doesn't seem to ever change, not only within a 90-minute game, but also within the whole season. I'm not even within the whole season, within 4 whole seasons, is we've been doing the same thing since year 1 of horseshoe of sadness, endless crosses, and what seems to me to have no real direction. I mean, beyond the direction of being just let's cross the ball into a shorter attacker is kind of really all we got. And that brings me to the first point. In Austin FC's history, there are 2 strikers that are over 6'2", 3 strikers that are over 6 feet tall. Danny Houston, who played 19 games for the club, 6'1". Josh Zardis, 6'2". Will Bruin also only played 19 games, and again, didn't start a majority of those games, is 6'2". Then you have Musa Jite, Maxi Ruti, Diego Rubio. I'm throwing Sebastian Driussi in there because he does play up top a lot, and he kind of, as second striker, more of a midfielder depending on situations. 5'10", 5'11". Musa Jite 5'11". Either way, you're going up against defenders in the MLS that are taller than that, and our objective is cross the ball in to lose headers. We don't like playing driven crosses low, lofting into the box, lofting into the back corner of the box. Something that just does not, to me, doesn't compute with shorter strikers. I'm not saying to completely disband the crosses. I think Zane Kolmesh is very good at them. There's a couple players that fit that kind of style well, but I don't think it's something that we need to live and die by for a full 90 minutes. I think that one of the things we need to do is just change it up. If it doesn't work quickly, move on to something else, which, like I was talking about earlier, in the Dallas and San Jose game, looked to be more direct, more fluid play. I haven't watched either the Dallas or the San Jose game in full, but from the highlights and then from watching them on stream and watching them live, it looked to be a lot more direct and a lot more fluid play in the middle of the pitch than just hoofing it out wide and trying to cross into the middle. So I think we really need to change tactics. If that's Josh Wolff changing tactics, cool. If that's booting Josh Wolff out, cool, and getting somebody in that can do a better job, cool. I really don't care. Another thing with Josh Wolff that a lot of people have an issue with is his media responses and his comments on things, specifically his inability to take responsibility and blaming individual players. The blaming individual players, I have absolutely no answer for and no reason to understand it. However, a lot of the other media of generalizations and like in the we build from this type of thing that he talks about, I couldn't care less, to be honest with you. It's a very media trained answer, and it's a very much a coach's answer to being beaten or losing games that left, right, and center, is build from this, do better, reset, recoup, blah 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 blah. You're not going to get a legitimate answer in media questions. As much as we all would love it, you're not going to get an answer. I mean, 2 quotes that stuck out to me during the Orlando press conference was, as players, there's much to improve on. So kind of pushing the blame on the players for not executing properly. And again, we share the blame, which is a good start, and then goes to players didn't perform to the best of their ability. And that's, again, I'd like to see Josh Wolff take responsibility and say, I messed up the tactics. He has on occasion, but not enough. Now, one situation that I would say is a direct result of us losing games is our medical staff. And no, I'm not saying that Austin FC is the only team in the MLS to have injuries or blah, blah, blah. But we lose starting caliber in our best players consistently. So far in 2024, Leo Väisänen gets injured 36 minutes into the season and is out, as of recording this video, actively. He's still out, and this is the 17th of April. He's still out. I still, as far as I'm aware, don't have an update on when he's back. All I know is late April, but what is that this upcoming week? Is that next week? Is it the week after? What is late April? It's weird. And then also Sebastian Driussi, who played all the preseason games, or at least featured in a majority of all the preseason games, has or was out the starting 5 games of the season, which Austin did not perform well in. So it's just kind of strange. And then this, even going back to last year, I have a list of the injuries all from last year. Zane Komanec, ACL tear, out for the season. Leo Väisänen, LCL tear, out for 12 weeks. Sebastian Driussi, groin strain, out a month. Matt Hedges, hamstring strain, out 3 weeks. Adam Lundqvist, abductor strain, out 4 to 6 weeks. Justice Zardes, hamstring injury, out 3 weeks. Diego Fagundes, abductor strain, out 4 to 5 weeks. Cascante, left abductor strain, out 8 weeks. That is 8 starting players last season that had impacts on the team. And they were all out for at least a month, maybe 2, in Zane Komanec's case, the entire season. Something needs to change, and I know people have pointed this out before. Something needs to change with our medical staff. The soft tissue injuries that we continue to have seems ridiculous. The groins, the hammy injuries, it does not make sense. Take a look at the medical staff. See what's going on. And one of the final things before I move on to the last little section is the Claudio Reyna situation and the Rodolfo Borrell situation and Josh Wolff. The whole sporting director thing has been an absolute catastrophe since this club started, with Claudio Reyna coming in and giving out decently chunky salaries, and then trying to fix those a little bit, but then with the whole Gio Reyna and the U.S. national team situation and Claudio's involvement and all of that mess, he stepped back, and then we had a solid, very, very long time. I think it was 6 to 8 months, roughly, that we had no sporting director, and or Josh Wolff was the sporting director in addition to being the head coach. What are we doing? Precourt, why did it take us 8 months, 6 to 8 months to hire a new sporting director? Yes, I understand that your target was was Rodolfo Borrell. Was there nobody else available?
Much later.
Given Rodo Borrell came in right in the middle of a transfer window, so he couldn't really do a whole lot with the club at that point, and I'm really excited to see what he does this summer, because I think with what he's brought in so far, O'Brien, Rubio, the Mikael Dessler stuff that's rumored, I think it's confirmed. I'm not 100% sure, but it looks to be going in the right direction. But back up on Claudio Reyna. The contracts and the contract extensions that he made really put Austin FC in a hole. In 2022, before a lot of these contracts were submitted and given bigger deals, the Austin FC was spending $14.6 million on their salary. Currently, today, with the roster that we have now, we're spending $20 million. $20 million on rosters. Well, in 2022, when we went to the Western Conference Final and arguably were a better team through the full season than LAFC. Again, we had a worse game than LAFC, but we beat them 2 or 3 times earlier that year. We're playing almost $5 million less, a little over $5 million less. Contract rules are abysmal in the MLS, first off, but our contract decisions have been bad. And I really, really hope, and I'm excited about this Mikael Dessler situation, because I think it's going to put a bar on what Rodo Borrell is willing to spend, and Anthony Precourt as well, of what they're willing to spend on this club to bring us back to that consistent playoff team fighting for at least 2 playoff wins every year. I think that's kind of the standard, is we want to be in that competing for at least the Western Conference Final every year, if not winning it. But again, only one team can win it. Only 2 teams can be there. if we consistently make playoffs solidly and not in this like play-in situation, if they ever change that, that would be good. If we can finish top 5 in the conference every year, cool. So that's kind of the issues with Austin FC. And now let's move into the last little section of what Austin FC can do to improve. We briefly mentioned it earlier. Play more direct and more fluid football, soccer, whatever you want to call it. Like I feel like we started to do against Dallas and started to do against San Jose, and then absolutely abandoned it against St. Louis. Play through the middle, play through Seba, utilize Diego Rubio, because I don't feel like they're being utilized to their fullest potential. Rubio's played at the 10 for a lot. Seba's played out wide on the left wing for a lot, back in Zenit and at River. So maybe play Seba on what I know I've said this before, and I know people continue to dislike it. Let me know down below why you dislike Seba on the wing. If we have a player like Rubio that sits at the 10 to replace that, you could have Seba on the left, Rubio at the 10, Obrian at the right, and an actual fundamental striker up top. If that's Zardes, cool. If that's somebody that we bring in, cool. So that brings us to the point where I answer the question, am I Wolff in or Wolff out? Right now, I haven't fully decided 100% either way. There's a couple of contingencies with that. If Josh Wolff changes his tactics and plays more like we did against Dallas and San Jose, but more effectively because those games were way too close for how much better I think that we played than both those teams, I'm okay with him finishing the season, but I'm pretty sure his contract ends at the end of that season anyway. So if changing tactics, I'm okay with him staying till the end of the year if it puts us in a position that we can fight for playoffs and fight to look decent in playoffs and win at least one playoff game. However, if he plays anywhere close to like we have against St. Louis and the rest of the beginning of the season, I don't see him, and I would not appreciate it and I would not like it if he stays past stays into the summer transfer window, stays past the end of May, realistically. So I'll give him a month. And I know a lot of you guys are like, no, get him out now. Get him out now. How can you think a month? Because I think the Dallas and San Jose games showed the possibility of betterness and showed the possibility of 2022 again. But do I think Josh Wolff is going to do this? No. Do I think Josh Wolff should be out at the end of the season? Yes, absolutely. Do I think Josh Wolff should be out before the end of the season? Yeah, probably. I think that there's a lot more, like we talked about earlier, the Claudio Reyna contract situation butchering our bench depth, which I think we're slightly starting to recover now. The medical staff struggling to keep soft tissue, groin strains, hamstring strains. I think that's a bigger problem than, I don't know if I'd say it's a bigger problem than the tactics. It's just as big of a problem as the tactics. You don't have the players that you want, so it's hard to implement tactics, but you're implementing bad tactics with the players you want. Basically, yeah, right now Wolff probably needs to be gone, but there's a little voice in the back of my head that says,
yeah, you fired Josh Wolff and you're going to find somebody worse.
I don't know why, but that's just the voice in my head. Is just,
there's somebody worse. There's somebody worse. There's somebody worse.
So I don't know, but leaning Wolff out, to be completely honest with you guys. But let me know down below your thoughts on Austin FC and how easily it is for Austin FC to get out of the mud. But that's going to do it for me. I hope you guys have a wonderful time, and I'll see you guys this weekend for the Kopitas game against Houston.